the PV panels that we install today, even though the technology is more efficient than it was in 1921, but the technology is very similar to what was developed in 1921. So it's been around for decades, close to a century. As a matter of fact, 1891 is how far you can go back if you want to look at the first real application of solar technology. So it's been around a long, long time. This building that you see, these are actually PV panels. And this is the 1955 installation of the Western Electric building. So over 50 years ago, they were already implementing this. Of course, it cost a lot more then. Now, how solar panels work? Well, we install the panels. The sunlight directly hits the PV panels, which has 4 layers, and then it separates the charge, positive and negative, and then they travel down the line. And they go into an inverter. So that inverter takes that direct current and converts it to alternate current, which is what we use in our home, right? If you guys want to know more about that, there's something wrong with you. No, I'm kidding. Now, so what are the trends with solar? Let's take a look at some graphs. So here you can see in 2009, this is nationwide installed capacity as far as solar panels. And then here we go to 2010, 2011, 12, 13, 14. And you can see the trend going up, about 25% or so more installation year over year compared to previous year. What has changed? What do you think was the catalyst for that movement? Ding, 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 ding. Money, that's one, absolutely. What else?
Global warming.
Okay, it is getting hotter. Climate change is awareness, right? Conversation is another. The money part that you brought up, that's the orange line right there. If you just follow that through, and if you look, 2009, it started dropping significantly. Now, that orange line does not take into account any credits, rebates, grants, or anything else that's given. That's straight dollar for dollar if you were to invest in it. So you can see a pretty significant drop from 2009 to 2014. And of course, that drop has continued with economies of scale. And now here's another graph. So again, we've kind of seen up to 2014. Then 15, it was expected about a 25% increase. 16, 25% or so increase. And then a drop in 2017. Again, why? Why would we expect a drop in installations in 2017? What could slow it down? Ding, 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 ding.
Cost of energy went down.
Cost of energy, that's a very good question. It is related to money. So last year, if you were in the renewable energy industry, it was a very exciting time, and not in a good way, because the solar tax credit, which is a 30% rebate on everything that you invest in renewable energy, was supposed to expire at the end of this year. So that's why they expected a big increase in 2016 and then a big decrease in 2017. But if you ever come and tell me Congress doesn't do anything, I'll tell you they did extend that tax credit. And it meant a lot because they extended it for 5 years. So now it's good till 2021. So hopefully this drop that we're seeing won't actually materialize. Here are the states. We're actually in the top 10 states. Here's the states. And I know it's a little blurry, but California is number 1 by a long shot as far as solar installations. And Texas is right there. 129 megawatts. California is a little over 3,500 megawatts. So a lot of differential between California and others. If you are wondering why, look at their electric bill. So they pay X amount for the first couple of hundred kilowatt hours, then Y for the next couple of hundred kilowatt hours. By the time you average it out, they're paying close to 30 cents a kilowatt hour. While here, what are we paying? 8 cents, 9 cents a kilowatt hour. So it's a pretty big difference in what we're paying and what they're paying. But Texas is catching up. We have a lot of rebates on the table that California doesn't, which is making it a lot more affordable. So there are some very large companies that are also making an investment into solar. Who can name me the number 1 consumer of rooftop solar? Private company. Who can name me the number 1 consumer of rooftop solar worldwide? Take a wild guess.
U.S. Homes.
Okay, U.S. Homes, good guess. Who else? If I told you, you probably went there in the last month. Would that help?
Walmart.
Bingo. Walmart. So Walmart was the number 1 consumer of rooftop solar worldwide. Well, first, they have a lot of rooftops to put solar on. But second, has anybody ever worked at Walmart? No? Just me? Awesome. People need to start working at Walmart.
It's still an option.
It's still an option. I worked at Walmart going through high school, and one thing I learned about Walmart culture is that they do not spend a dime unless if the dime is going to come back with friends. It's a very, very frugal company, and frugal is a very nice term. So if they're investing in solar, they're doing it for the monetary reasons. Now, there are several other companies on here that do it for other reasons, climate change and other, IKEA being one of them, right? So we've all seen the local IKEA driving by, D&T in 121. This is what the roof looks like. This is the bird's eye view, right? This installation is almost a utility scale installation. It's approximately, my estimation, is about 850 kilowatt installation, which is equivalent to 85 homes. So pretty large install. And this isn't even the largest one. The largest one is the FedEx office, which is at 1.4 megawatts, right? So the largest one today is at 1.4 megawatts. And I know in this room the answer is going to be very evident, but when I ask in other rooms, it stumps people. Can anybody tell me what the largest announced install in North Texas is going to be? Who's moving here that's helping all of your business, buying a lot of homes?
Toyota.
Bingo. Toyota announced 7.75 megawatt install. So the largest install today is 1.4 megawatt. They're going to blow that out of water by what, having a 6x install. So that Toyota plant is going to be very cool, very neat to see as far as renewable energy. Now, why would Toyota, Walmart, or any of these companies, we talked about dollars and cents, why would they care? Why would they want to go? Forget about climate change for a second. Look at dollars and cents. Why would they care? Well, this is just an illustrative graph. It's got real numbers, but all I really want you to pay attention is it looks a lot like a very scary roller coaster down at Six Flags. And the point is that electricity rates go up and down just like natural gas, gold, oil, or anything else. So if I'm Walmart or if I'm a store like IKEA and I'm going to use 10 million kilowatt hours, see, when the electricity prices go up by a tenth of a penny to you, it might be $1 a month. Doesn't really matter. But when I'm using 10 million kilowatt hours, that's 6 figures. That'll leave a dent. So all I'm doing is hedging against future inflation. That's really all it is. So it makes sense. Southwest, as a matter of fact, one of the reasons that they're as successful as they are is because they've hedged oil at the right time. So one of the reasons that a lot of times they're cheaper and they can fly you for $69 coast to coast, it's because they've hedged oil when it was low, or today it is low. When oil was high, they were cheaper than anybody else because they hedged at the right time. So climate-wise, why would a company like IKEA, which that's their business model, that's what they live and breathe, is climate, and it's a part of their mission, why would they do it? So IKEA is a really large install, 850 kilowatts, equivalent to 85 homes. But a typical home in Texas gets a 10 kilowatt install. That's what Encore maximizes their rebate at. So a 10 kilowatt install is equivalent to planting 270 trees per year for the life of the system. And the system is warranted for 25 years, so a very, very long time. It's like replacing 2.7 cars with hybrid, or taking 60 cars completely off the road. 1.6 tanker trucks of gas not used, and 4.3 rail cars of coal not burned. Now, these are all ors in between. It'd be nice if it was compounded, but it gives you kind of what the environmental impact is. Anybody here actually in Plano, or you probably have a lot of clients in Plano, in the Plano newspaper, right on, I believe on the front page, they're talking about the environmental impact. And one of the mind-boggling facts is, so people think of transportation. When we think of fossil fuels, we think of transportation. The reality is the number one use of fossil fuels, natural gas, coal, or oil, is electricity. It's not transportation, right? The number two, and the electricity and burning fossil fuels is the number one contributor of CO2 in the climate, right? Second, people think transportation. Well, if I just get a hybrid car, and we have great regulations on our cars, how efficient they have to be. But the second largest contributor is livestock industry, right? So it's things that people would have probably never imagined. So the number one being electricity. If we convert a home to go solar, that's why there's such significant impact, because it's the number one contributor. Now let's talk about money for a second. So for every dollar that I invest in renewable energy, I get 30 cents back from Uncle Sam. It's a credit, not a rebate, not a depreciation, it's a credit. So if I owe Uncle Sam 40 cents, I subtract my 30, I pay him 10 cents. And vice versa. Now, utility rebates, rebate credits for residential, DME, Dental Municipal Electric, was giving away $15,000 this year. I believe that money is out. Encore is giving away $8,500. They still have some money left. CoServe gives away $2,600. Farmers Electric, $1,000, and so on and so forth. So no matter where you live, that electric company has an incentive or a rebate for you to go renewable. Why? A company that's selling electricity, why would they want to incentivize you to buy less?
Because their grid's at the max a lot of times.
Bingo. So as a matter of fact, the peak for Encore was just a couple of days ago, August 10th, at between 4 and 5 p.m. If anybody guesses this amount, because it blew my mind, and I'm in this industry, can anybody even take a wild guess in that hour how much in Encore area did we use as far as energy? 71,000 megawatts. That's an insane amount of energy. It blew my mind when I read that. So between 4 and 5 p.m. August 10th, that was the peak that Encore had ever seen. So we've heard about the rolling blackouts in California. We're not at that stage, but we're being proactive, meaning we're trying to take the load off grid. And as a matter of fact, that's exactly what Encore's program is called, Take the Load Off Texas, right? So they're trying to minimize the impact to the grid. Thousands in carbon credits. So when you go green, you're reducing your carbon footprint, which gets you carbon credits, which then you could take to a company and sell it, right? Southwest Airlines, American Airlines, generally any airline that has to fly to Europe has to be carbon neutral. So they have to buy carbon credits. 70 to 90% of your electric bill, including delivery charges and taxes, is gone. That's what a lot of people love. If they're paying $300 in electric bill right now they're going to pay at most $90, generally speaking. And solid return on investment, 11 to 19%. I put 11%. Generally, I don't have a project that we've actually done that was under 15%. What has S&P 500 averaged over the last 100 years?
6.5, 7.
Yeah, the most optimistic opinions are 10%, let's say. So here, investing back in your home, and I'm not even talking about anything else, just what you're putting in and how much you're saving on your bill. You're getting about 15% return on investment, so very solid returns. And then, so let's take a look at impact on home values, which I think you guys might be interested in, probably a little bit more. So Department of Energy did a very lengthy study going from 2003 to 2014, and they studied 23,000 homes. 4,000 of those had solar installed in them. And they found that an average home in California, which has a 3.6 kilowatt system, went up for more than $15,000 compared to their neighbors. Right? So it increased $15,000. Now, anytime home values go up, what do homeowners complain about?
Tax.
Bingo, taxes. Did you know that in Texas, your solar installation is exempt from tax increases? So I could buy land out in the middle of nowhere, and the land is cheap, right? We're in Texas. And I could go and we're actually doing this. We're building a little over a megawatt power plant, 7 acres of solar farm. It's going to be beautiful, in my opinion. And we're not going to have to pay taxes on that multi-million dollars in equipment because according to the state law, it's exempt from taxes. So we're only going to pay taxes on the land value, which is kind of neat. Now, in that same study, properties with solar spent up to 50% less time on the market. Now, when the time on market in DFW is, 19 days, that probably doesn't matter. But at one point when I was in Corpus Christi, the days on the market was close to 10 months. And at that point, it really might, at that point, it really might make a difference, right? But generally, those spend about 50% less time on the market than other comparable homes. So the biggest thing that I want you guys to take away from this is not a sales pitch, right? My whole focus, my job here is to educate. So they did this study that I showed you, and it ended in 2014. And in 2014, a new creative way, or actually 2 new creative ways came out to own solar. And they have kind of muddied the water. And that's what I want to talk to you about. Number 1 is power purchase agreement. Number 2 is lease. And then, of course, third way is the same old way that we do everything else, which is to own it, right? So let's talk about those 2 real quick. Power purchase agreement and lease. Let me explain them to you real quick. What power purchase agreement is, I come to your house. I go, Mr. Homeowner, you're already buying electricity. I'm just going to come put panels on your home. I'm going to charge you 11 cents a kilowatt hour. You never have to worry about anything. I got everything. Can I do that? You go, sure, I got no risk. I want to go green. Let's do it. I'll pay a little bit more. That's okay, but I'll do it. What you just ended up agreeing to is buying power that's generated right on top of your roof for at least 20 years. Okay? Now, the largest, the 800-pound gorilla in the solar industry, they generally do PPAs and lease. And what they do is, in the lease, there is no buyout option. So you cannot own the system. That's at least my understanding from what I've read. Okay? So you're stuck in it for 20 years, or you have to pay hefty penalties if you break that contract. Now, PPA, what you do is you buy power for 5 years, and then after that, you can own the system for whatever the cost is, whatever you guys determine ahead of time. So homeowners look at PPAs and they go, well, I can try it out for 5 years and then I can buy it. Well, what's the challenge with that? With 15% return on investment for an individual, how fast will the company get their money back? Pretty fast, right? On top of that, if you look at some of the cons here, rates are higher, generally speaking, than what you'll pay TXU, Reliant, or others. Long-term commitment, 20 to 25 years that you're having to commit to, and then no access to tax credits, rebates. You don't own the system. So the study specifically, not specifically, but at that time the only model existed was that you own the system. So now you walk into a house, you see solar panels, you go, bingo, this house is going to sell twice as fast as any other. It's going to sell for at least $15,000 more. And then you find out that, oh no, they just signed a 20-year lease, and whoever is the new homeowner has to assume that lease. That can be a problem, right? So the reality is the best way to own the system is to own the system. Now, again, owning the system can still be zero down, just like we can go buy a car today. It's a $25,000 car, but we can go generally with zero down, pay very little in APR, and drive off the lot, right? We can do the exact same thing with solar panels. So the benefit is, of course, you own the system, and with that comes all of the responsibility of tax credits and grants and rebates. But I'm sure in the back of your mind, you're going, yeah, but I've got all of the risk as well, right? Maintenance, damages, what happens? Well, first, with panels, there's no maintenance, zero. There's no moving parts. So you will never, ever, ever have to maintain your panels. I've had them on my roof for 6 months since I bought the house. I've had them on my dad's roof for a year, and we've never climbed on a roof to maintain anything. There's no maintenance. Each product, the inverter and the panels, come with a decade-long or higher warranty. And then we have customers that call the manufacturer and buy extended warranty. As a matter of fact, I think one of them paid $800 and extended the inverter warranty out all the way up to 20 years. So for the next 20 years, if anything goes wrong, it's covered. And then the third question that I generally get asked is, well, what about hail damage? We have a hail season. So what do we do about that? Well, so what these panels are tested for, and if you've seen them, then you know what I'm talking about. They're tested for 1-inch hail at 60 miles an hour at a direct impact, 90-degree angle, right? That's in the lab. And what's missing in the lab is wind. So generally, when we have storms, we have a lot of wind, which is going to soften that impact. So what you need is larger than 1-inch hail and coming down stronger than 60 miles an hour. So what happens in that case is we had, in the last couple of weeks, couple months actually, we've uninstalled, tested, and reinstalled 3 of our own installations in the North Texas area, and not one panel was damaged, not one panel, right? And we've done about half a dozen uninstalls, tests, and reinstalls of other companies' work, and not one of their panels was damaged. Now, I'm not challenging Mother Nature, but my point is, if there is damage, one, we're installing a lot of panels, not all of them are going to be damaged, but if there is damage, it's covered under homeowner's insurance under other structures. So. And lastly, and then I'll shut up, but if your customers are considering solar, one, if they ask you that question, talk to them about owning versus leasing or PPA. And if they have questions, have them call us, right? And why would they ever consider us? Well, we're based out of DFW to start with. We've done dozens, if not close to 100 local installs. We've done commercial, we've done residential, and we're building utility scale. And my partner's already done utility scale overseas, and we only use tier 1 products. So generally, I love it when people talk to our competitors. As a matter of fact, somebody signed yesterday, but he was having kind of going, well, I haven't really talked to enough competition. I took the contract back. I said, you know what, let's meet again Friday. I want you to talk to my competitors. Because when you do an apples-to-apples comparison, we're about 30% more affordable than our competition is. And then experience in the industry. There is a lot of bad apples out there because there's really not a lot of requirements to be in the solar industry. So when I bought my house, I said, what better way to do some competition research than to have them come out to my house? And I had one guy come out and looks at my house and he goes, well, you know, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and it's going to reduce your electric bill. And then all you need is about a 5-kilowatt system. And I had to bite my tongue because a 3,100 square foot home in Texas with Texas heat, you need double the system. So why would he not sell me twice the system? Well, because he's going to have to get me approved, right? And he was going to leave me with $18,840 for a 5-kilowatt system. That's going to generate about, what, 7,200 kilowatt hours, right? That's pretty pricey. And I was going to have buyer's remorse, I'm sure, right after. We don't do 5 kilowatt systems because generally a home needs a bigger system. But just for illustration purposes, I drafted up what my customers would pay for a similar 5 kilowatt system, and they would pay $6,300. Right? So pretty significant difference. We're generally, I mean, the point here isn't to brag. The point is, as you're out with your customers, at least let them know to look at the company, to research them, to find out. Encore has kicked this company out several times. And what they keep doing is they keep finding a different subcontractor to go to the job, right? So, you got to find out. This slide, these two slides came from a customer in Plano, and this is unsolicited. We didn't ask him to do this, but what he did was he tracked how much he paid for electric bill the year before and how much he paid for electric bill the year after. In this email, what he's saying is that he also went out and bought an electric car. So he goes, well, my consumption went up. And he's an engineer, so he's very detail oriented. So I think he said his consumption went up by like kilowatt or 2 per night, something like that. But regardless, his savings for the year were $1,726, dollar for dollar, even with the electric car. And lastly, this is where you might have seen us featured as a company. So when these guys need an expert, they call myself, they call my partner, they call our team. So when your clients need an expert, have them call us as well.